Hello and welcome everyone to the Beacon of Light podcast tonight. We are thrilled to have you here. And if you are here, pop up here live, please let us know where you're from and everything that you might have questions about with our amazing, wonderful guest, Loretta Libera. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
Okay. Awesome. And before we start talking to her, let's jump into this.
I'm April Tribe Juke. Welcome to the Beacon of Light podcast. I believe we are all made with light, and light is hope. This podcast brings authors who write stories of hope to all of you. Your journey to be inspired and amplified by these stories starts now.
And we are back. Welcome again, everyone. Well, Loretta, since you are here this evening, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, thanks. First of all, thank you so much, April, for having me. It's an honor to be part of your Beacon of Light, because we all want to be light out there. And I think it's really tremendous how you're offering opportunities for a lot of people to join your podcast. So thank you for that. I think a fun fact about me is I'm originally from Canada, but I now get to call Hawaii my home. So that's truly a blessing and an honor, and something that I try not to take granted for too much, but I'm sure there are days where I do. I have a wonderful husband and 2 children in elementary school. They're growing up way too fast, like I'm sure a lot of children are.
Well, that is amazing. Hawaii. Wow. Beautiful place. I love the sign. Hawaii. Beauty. Yeah. So, Loretta, that shares a little bit about, you are married, you have kids in elementary school. Mm-hmm. And so where did you find time to write a book?
Great question. I'm not sure. It was just one of those things where once I set my heart out to get this done, it just had to happen. And I'm sure you can relate. So you find time for all sorts of different important things. That was truly a journey that took a lot of, sacrifice, time away from family to get this done. And that's, I think, underscores the belief I have in getting this message out to people and really helping them.
And so speaking about that, what is the message? Let's first start with the title of the book and we'll start diving into there. So let's pop the title up here. Your future is in your hands. Yes, put it up there. No, it's good. It's good.
Okay, so your future is in your hands, and the subtitle is 22 Keys to Creating a Life You Love Before It's Too Late. So your future is in your hands. I agonized over this title for a long time because nothing really stuck and nothing I could say I've really loved, and I felt like that hit it on its head, but suddenly it just came to me and I was thinking, oh my gosh, that's it. And I was rushing to my husband to share with him and he goes, yes, that is the title. My book, just to kind of, jump ahead a little bit, it's a collection of life stories and words of wisdom from people from all walks of life around the world. On the question that I asked, what would you tell your younger self if you had a chance? And so this is not just a book of what to do and what not to do, but really for people who have made certain life choices in their, as they grew up, how their life turned out, consequences, good or bad, right? So we're not just talking about mistakes here. And so this is almost a little bit like Choose Your Own Adventure, those books. I actually saw some, I think, new versions of them, which I thought was so cool. It's a little bit like that, as kids grow up, and I'm going to say kids, but it's really just all encompassing, like teens, even, people in their 20s as they're growing up, as they make decisions and choices in their life, there will be outcomes and these products of their choices. So this casts a glimpse of what their life could be. And so potentially some of the future outcome is in here because of similar choices that you might make. And then the second one obviously is your future is in your hands. You have a lot of influence and control over how your life turns out. And I'll go as far as not just control and influence, but really responsibility. You have responsibility over how your life turns out, because of all these choices that you make along the way.
It's very, very true about the responsibility. The situations, they happen, and that's life. That's Murphy's Law. All of the challenges that happen, from hurricanes to a loss of a job, that is the life part. The responsibility for us, and looking at your book, really means what?
We can't really go through life just taking one day at a time, because then we'll get to a spot where we look back and then it's like, oh, oops, maybe I should have done differently. And sometimes it could be too late for certain choices. It's much better to actually intentionally plan out, this is how I want my life to pan out. This is what I want to be known as. This is how I want to be remembered by. These are the relationships I want to have fostered in my life. And then you work towards that, right? So it's a little bit of looking at painting a picture of what you want your life to be. And then, okay, well, now that I have that, what do I need to do from here on? Right? So that's going to set yourselves up much better than to just, take each day as it comes, and we'll just roll by and then, just stroll along, and then let's see what happens. And we'll look back and be like, oh, okay, well, I hope that it turns out well. There's so much we can do beyond just let's hope it turns out well. And that's where the responsibility comes in.
Yes, that responsibility really is an interesting part, because we can set ideas and goals and intentions out there. And I think the changes that happen in life is the how we get there. That should be very flexible. Of course, we don't have any control on some of those hows. But if we don't set a course towards something, we will just kind of randomly, and it'll just kind of drift to different places.
Yeah,
and that it really impacts future generations. I mean, I'm just thinking right now about a lot of people maybe in a faith journey, and sometimes this separation has happened, or I notice it more and more, between faith and religion, going to church, not going to church. Mm-hmm. And this concept of let's just see what happens doesn't really support future generations to know what it is that you know, unless you have an intention to do some instruction or give support in knowing, or sharing the stories. Right. So it can be applied in multiple facets of your life. Right. So I'm thinking about just now with work as a teacher. Love being a teacher. Been teaching now for 18 years in the classroom. And I'm looking at things thinking, okay, I know I want to add a few more years within this classroom setting, but I feel that there's probably a change coming. So do I sit back and wait for the change to happen? Or can I put some intention beyond, in that feeling and that prompting, and to see what happens? The how of it, that'll come. Right. And that takes a lot of faith to believe in that how. Mm-hmm. But if I don't put the intention there, I don't know what will happen. Yeah. Other than I'll probably miss what I wanted to intend.
Right. Yeah. Well, spot on right there. And I think, when you speak about teachers, and I love it, and, thanks for all the years of serving as a teacher too, because that's makes a huge difference in the world. I think, with it being August right now, there's a huge milestone happening for a lot of people, and those who are either sending their kids off to college or university, or these kids themselves, knowing that, okay, I'm about to embark on a different journey that's going to be so awesome, because I'm going to be away from home. And a really good tool, this book, to partner with the parents, with the teachers, with mentors, with coaches, grandparents, of putting these wisdom into their teens. I'm just going to say teens, these teens' hands. So as they leave the family nest, there is something to turn to. And like I was saying, it's not like an instruction manual. It's not recipe for success, but it is showing them in multiple facets that they may encounter. Here's some things that could occur, and these are some of the stories of people who've already encountered and experienced these situations, and that's how they chose. And and then therefore, like that's what their outcome is. And one comes to mind right now, and that's really going for an enriched social network.
Ooh, share more about that. An enriched social network, especially with our young adults. What does that mean? What does that look like? Share with us what you're intending there.
Yeah. So, there's that famous saying of we're the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. And so as our teens head off to college, and they're going to be meeting tons of new people, I think they need to be very careful and mindful of, okay, well, who am I going to surround myself with? Are these the people who are going to help me build that life that I want, that's healthy? Are these the relationships that will build me up and not break me down? And, one of the stories that I was able to help convey from, people who helped answer that, what would you tell your younger self? So that's in particular someone who struggled with drugs, hung out with the wrong crowd, thinking those were their friends, got into trouble. Friends were not there to support them. Really, it's just another person to make money off of. So things like that. And not to say, all new friends will become that, right? But that's just one thing to start planting seeds. So as our teens go out there, venturing into now this new world of freedom, things for them to think about, just really planting seeds. And I know a lot of times when parents, they want to tell their teens, okay, like, here's what you need to be thinking of, like what to do, what not to do, deaf ears, right? Because I've been there, right? I've been a teen. I've been in a phase where, like, no matter what the parents say, I'm not hearing it. Someone else says the same thing. Oh, really? Maybe I should pay attention. So in a way, this is a tool that it comes with a neutral, gentle way for them to really just stimulate their thinking, help steer their eyes to kind of open up and consider things, in more than one perspective, more than just like, hey, this is fun time. There is, more things to consider as they choose who they should be letting into the social network.
Yes, I love that concept, and we share an idea and a construct in our classroom that talks about who do you want to be a part of your team?
Right.
Who's on your team? Yeah. And really thinking about that, because sometimes, not always, but sometimes when our kids, our youth, our young adults leave the nest, they kind of have this, I don't want to say sever, but a little bit of like, okay, I have finished that part of my life. Now I'm going to go experience many things. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's true. Yep. However, there's always a pull to go back. And I think there should be when you have big questions, maybe even some small questions. And it doesn't become the helicopter parent. Right. But as you're building your team or your network out there for the future, we know many of us who have wisdom, we will say, behind us or underneath us, a lot of wisdom. We would love to impart some of those parts of it in a way that can be heard, and it doesn't feel like, blah, 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 blah,
right,
blah, again. Because
yeah.
that's not what we're trying to say. So I love your question about what would you say to your younger self. So I'm going to ask you that question. If you could go back, what's one thing? I'm sure there's probably many. I know myself, but share with us one thing you would share with your younger self.
Yeah. And it's funny you asked it because I actually wrote that as my story. So at the end of every chapter, there are stories, at least one, and I got to share my own because I thought that would be a good opportunity to really just put out there what I would tell my younger self. And so I think it was in the chapter that's maximize your school years. I think that was the chapter where going through high school, my mom kept asking me to explore more subjects, right? Because, hey, you never know, you're only in high school. And I said, nope, I only love sciences. And so I'm just going, that's all the courses I'm going to take, science, math, and then whatever's mandatory. And she said, well, maybe just at least try out some business courses. How do you know that you don't like it? And so I just do. I know I don't. And so there were two mandatory courses that you had to take to fulfill the business, and typing allowed me to get that credit. So that's all I took. I took typing. And so graduated out of high school, still loving science. And I mean, to this day, I still do. Got into college. 1 month in, I didn't really know what to do with a science degree. I took biology, and there were, I think, 1,500 kids in my biology class, so 1,500 kids. And I looked around like, okay, I wonder how many are going to be, getting into the few seats to become a doctor, right? Like and I realized like I really didn't know what I wanted to do with a science degree. Like, I mean, I could still enjoy science and appreciate nature and all that. It didn't mean I had to go and build a whole career on that. And so I changed. I switched out and went into commerce. But because I had no business credits, right? With my typing, it didn't really get me too far. So then I had to make it all up. I had to take all the accounting, all the economics courses and all of that, and compete with people who've been studying throughout the whole high school because they knew they wanted to do business. And I had to compete against that and kind of fight my way in. And I mean, I ended up graduating with a marketing degree in human resources. But I mean, maybe that was the path I needed for me to arrive where I was, to learn it the stubborn way, if you will. But that is something I fully acknowledged in my book, just call it stubbornness, because I mean, that's what it was. And so if that's kind of one thing I would want to go back and tell myself, it's okay. Really, like, your mom is not speaking nonsense here. She has a point. She's not telling me to do something bad. It's just opening up your eyes or trying to experience something else just to be sure, right, that this is truly the path that I wanted to set for myself.
Yes. Wisdom in moms. Looking, and one thing I think kids forget is that you've been with us for a long time, longer than you've been alive, so to speak, because our thoughts and dreams for children coming in, and then when they arrive, now all kids have their own set of manuals, and I say that in the plural form because I don't know about, hold on, let me see. Whoa, wait, right? There's a lot of things happening. But you do have an experience, and it's very interesting, the wisdom of your mom, just planting the seed and idea about business. Mm-hmm. And she didn't continue to emphasize and press on it, but just put it there as an idea. Yeah. I did the same thing too. Maybe my daughter's watching, maybe not.
And I'm grateful she never came back and said, I told you so. So that's very
precious. Yeah, because that's not the point. Yeah. And it shouldn't be the point. Parents, don't say that, because they'll come back around, and you can say it to yourself 100 times. Just don't say it out loud. Don't do that. Don't say that. Yes, I love it. Yes, because moms do. They have wisdom. So, so my daughter is experiencing college very soon, in 2 weeks. And so trying to figure out a schedule and what to do. And there were ideas, and we put things together, and that one wasn't really working. This, maybe she'd have to email all of her professors to try to get into certain classes because she was already on a waiting list. So I was like, don't say anything, because I didn't want to panic her or anything like that. Another 2 weeks go past, and I just had this thought hit me. She needs to do ASL. And I'm like, okay, how do I plant that idea? I was like, I don't know. You're her mom. Go. I'm like, oh, great sense of humor. Okay. It worked out, and I put the little seed in there about ASL. Well, guess what happened? All those schedules, boop, 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 boop. Perfect. And she's actually ahead, so she doesn't have to do the 2-year. She won't have to be on campus for 2 years. She can just go for the 3 semesters and then be finished with her associates.
Oh, wow.
So now she's even like, yeah, I know. And I'm like, yep, that's all you, girl. High five. Off to the side, right? So there are ways to put the influence there, and I love that. So in the questioning within your book about what would you ask your younger self, were you surprised at some of the answers and responses you got back from the people you asked?
Yes and no, I think. I think that, well, prior to me going out to, the masses, I tried to test out this concept first to see if there's really something to do with this. And almost everyone I asked instantly off their tongue just rolled off something that either they wish they hadn't done or they wish they had done. And it was just so much regret and remorse in the tone that it was kind of heartbreaking. And I think that was a bit of a surprise for me, in the sense that I guess I never really thought about how much people are hanging on to these learnings, something that like just instantly comes right out, something that I wish I had done differently. And then as I spoke to more people and asked them the question more widely, the scope of things was a little bit surprising. I mean, there were people talking about finances and people talking about marriages, finding their spouse. That's, I ended up dedicating a chapter, even though I didn't really originally think I would write about, dating advice in there, but I ended up doing that because of, that kind of bubbled up to the top. A lot about relationships, families, parents, grandparents. So yes and no. I mean, just the amount of things that people had to kind of lift off their chest. I think that was the surprise. But I think there were common themes for sure. So I bubbled it down to 22. And I think there's definitely more because people who've read my books are asking, okay, well, when are you writing second book? And I'm like, not quite there, but I think people already can sense there's so much more that could be out there for people to learn from.
Wow, yeah, it's very true. There is a lifetime of learning. Mm-hmm. So this really seems targeted towards our young adults, our youth, our teen era right there. And so when you wrote it in a way, is it for parents as well as for this youth group?
It's really written more for the person who will be leveraging the wisdom. So I would say it's more geared towards, I would say mid-teens to even 20s and 30s. I've had people in their 30s who have read it and said, I could still use some of these learnings. I have a friend who recently told me how she applied one of the learnings. And I'm like, oh, maybe I should try that too. Because I mean, that learning didn't come from me, right? From people who shared. So that was really neat. And a lot of people saying, I wish I had this when I was growing up. Because it's like that wise friend that you can trust and would point you in the right direction. But, with that gentle nudge, right? Kind of like what we talked about, not the person who pretends they have all the answers, but really it's just that wise friend you want your kids to have along the way who will keep them grounded. I think one thing that I did include in there, which could be for the parents or even the grandparents, and that's we have 1 year to enjoy each age. Each age only lasts 1 year. And so be it for ourselves, be it for our kids, be it for our aging parents. 1 age, 1 year. And that comes with a lot of firsts. That comes with a lot of lasts. So with my kids still in elementary school, I'm still celebrating first. I mean, like they only recently got to experience ice skating. That was a really exciting first. But I think we're also having a lot of lasts. I remember being very sad when my second child ended preschool, and that was end of preschool. And I was asking people like, how is there no way to prepare for this? Because there's like a bit of grievance with it. But yeah, like just no matter how bad or even the good, it only lasts for so long. And
I really like that time frame that you're talking about. Thinking about that breakdown makes the intention really specific. So I think that is something really important. I had not really thought about the perspective of that, maybe more as in grouping of elementary / middle school, then the high school years, and then the decade thinking of the 20s, 30s, 40s. Well, yes, that's part of it. But I know now, and I think because as the wisdom comes, as you age, it's not that you grasp onto the year and hold on and never want to let it go, but you suddenly have an awakening of, I've got 365 days this year to think about this part or this age, and what will be my first and what will be my last. Right. Really powerful perspective. Wow, that's awesome, Loretta. That's really insightful there. It expands out something a little bit further than what I had originally kind of thought. So, woohoo, now I got something to work on. Very awesome.
Thank you.
So, as our time now is getting kind of short, what is something that you would like to share and leave with our audience about your book? Let's put it back up here. Your Future is in Your Hands. And you can get this on Amazon, correct?
Yeah, Amazon, Barnes & Noble. And I mean, you know, if anybody wants like autographed copies, you can go to my website, lorettalubera.com, and then there'll be instructions there to get an autographed hard copy. But yeah, I mean, parting words, I think there is so much that we can really do to build that joyful life, you know, that life that we can be proud of. And I mean, and that we can consider success. Success is not always just financial. I mean, it could be, but it doesn't have to be. It could really be the healthy relationships that we work towards, how much we are able to give to people. So I think the more we can help our young adults work towards it, the more fulfilled their life will be, the more in a struggle survival mode they'll be. And then so that just sets them up for so much more than the drifting that we talked about, the cruising, the coasting, and just hoping that all works out. And yeah, the building blocks, helping them really understand. We break it all down to the building blocks, one step at a time, and it's not difficult. It just takes that intention.
Love that. It's not difficult, but it takes intention. So everyone, the future is in your hands. You can get that there at Amazon. You can go to her website, which has been running on the ticker underneath, lorettalubera.com. You can also find her on Facebook and on other ways to contact her. So if you would like to read this book, get out there, give her a review on Amazon, share this information, and then start bugging her for the second book. No. I'm just teasing. But thank you so much for being a part of this Hope and Light here at the Beacon of Light podcast. And thank you for starting off our August in a wonderful way. Literally, it is the 1st of August. So awesome. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks so much, April.
You are so welcome. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. So all y'all come back next week. We've got more amazing guests and more amazing books that will bring you hope and light. Again, grab her book. It is Your Future is in Your Hands. Grab it on Amazon or, like it says on the ticker underneath, at her website. And we will see y'all next week. Goodbye, everybody. Bye.
Bye, everyone.